a large part of India under one empire. Before that, it had been sort of feudalistic kingdoms all over the place, and Ashoka unified it into one larger empire, but he was so horrified by all the bloodshed that resulted in doing that he gave that up and instead started sending out missionaries around the world of India in that day to try to disseminate Buddhist teachings, and even had these large pillars set up all over the place with Buddhist teachings inscribed in them. A lot of them are still out there. And he sent missionaries to Sri Lanka, and this form of Buddhism sometimes is referred to as Southern Buddhism. It goes south and then through Southeast Asia. This is the form of Buddhism that is in Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and of course Burma. So the form of Buddhism that we were seeing in the news a few weeks ago is this form of Buddhism, and that's why there was a very prominent role of the monks who left the monasteries in order to march on behalf of human rights for the people and civil liberties and so forth. So that's the one major school. The largest school of Buddhism is called Mahayana, which means great vehicle. And it moves largely north, out through the Khyber Pass and into Afghanistan. As you may remember, a few years ago, they had those giant Buddhas that were destroyed by the Taliban. Buddhism was very strong in Afghanistan for quite a while. And then it moves through China, over into Korea, to Japan, where it undergoes a lot of different development into a variety of different schools that are more theistically oriented and therefore have more popular appeal for ordinary people. So they tend to involve offering devotions to savior beings, cosmic Buddhas, who then can have their extreme karmic merit, sort of flow to these people, so that they will be reborn in favorable circumstances in a future life to be able to achieve enlightenment. So you get Buddhism expanding out and becoming more available as a religious practice to the masses with the Mahayana tradition in its sort of northern and migration or spread through East Asia, northern and eastern Asia. The third form is the smallest and most eccentric form of Buddhism, which is called the Vajrayana, which means diamond vehicle. Yana means boat or vehicle or raft. It's a metaphor that they use for going from this world to another state of consciousness, like another shore. And the Buddha Dharma is like a boat that gets you there. This form of Buddhism is predominantly in Tibet and Mongolia, and it's a fusion of tantric teachings, Indian Buddhism, and the indigenous shamanism of Tibet. And it makes for a kind of an interesting but rather strange mix. It's very ritualistic, and the Buddha discouraged people from engaging in rituals because he thought they, again, were distracting and so forth. So those are the Vajrayana is the smallest branch. It's also one of the two most popular forms of Buddhism in the United States and in North America and Europe in general. It has quite a powerful sort of psychology or psychotechnology connected with it.
Thank you. We don't have time for another question. We just have about a minute, but
oh, really?
We'll be back. We'll be back next week. But is there any cooperation between the different schools of Buddha?
Well, of course, they developed in relative isolation from each other. But I think in this day and age, there is much more kind of pan-Buddhist activity. Buddhism didn't used to be too much involved in social movements. It was focused on the individual. But now, due to the influence of the Dalai Lama and a Vietnamese Buddhist named Thich Nhat Hanh, who came over during the Vietnam War, there's a new brand of Buddhism called engaged Buddhism, that's more involved with trying to improve the sort of material and psychological conditions of people in the world. And so you do have Buddhist congresses where there is religious and cultural and spiritual exchanges.
I have to bring the permanent conclusion, but the good news to our viewers is that Tom Flint will be back again next week to continue to talk about Buddhism. It's been fascinating to have you here, Tom, and how informed you are. And I know that our panel will have lots of other questions, even in more depth, about this very, very interesting philosophy and religion. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us again next week at the same time. We'll continue our discussion of Buddhism. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
Recorded on the campus of North Idaho College, Public Forum is the longest-running in-house college production on PBS. Each episode is pre-recorded live and is an educational outreach from North Idaho College. Please join us at this same time next week for another edition of Public Forum on this public television station.